So yeah, let's go with the picks. Start off at 1. It's still gonna be McLaren. I don't know why I changed or thought anyone else was gonna take it to them. Not before the flexi wings are fixed in Spain or the summer break, and apparently Ferrari and other people are gonna bring rear brakes like McLaren have to get that advantage, or at least try to. So it should be interesting to see if Ferrari can make that comeback. Probably won't have the best luck with it, but I guarantee by the time we get to summer break, we'll see teams that are trying to win this year copy it. So that's your Red Bull, probably Ferrari, probably the two that's going to copy it. Mercedes, they might. Someone was talking, I was watching, they were saying that the technicality of doing this part might actually carry over into the next year, so some teams might be more okay with it. I still think Mercedes is going to. I don't see them putting that much into this car. I think they're actually probably in a really good position, and maybe they already have something down the pipeline. That could also be the rumor that everyone's already knows about this. Everyone's ready to go. So anyway, still this weekend it'll probably be McLaren, unless Ferrari's rear new change to rear braking and air ducts is going to make that much of a difference. But sadly, it's probably not. So definitely McLaren 1-2. Is Oscar going to get or 4 in a row, or is Lando going to break his streak? Depends who qualifies on pole, because there really is not a ton of overtaking on this track. It's tight. Doesn't have it much place to go around each other. It's there's really no great overtaking opportunities. I think Max won it last year, and Lando was chasing him down like the last lap, and like if there was a couple more laps, probably would have got him, but it was a huge tire differential. Speaking of tires, I said they're bringing the C6 to this, the softest of the soft, the ultra soft. Who knows the team's even going to use it? Because nobody likes that tire. Nobody even testing used it. Nobody wants it. It doesn't hold on for a full lap. It doesn't make it much past that. So probably just a qualifying tire for them, if it can even do that. Because if they had to use it in the race, they'll be done for. But past all of that, definitely McLaren 1-2. I'm gonna go with Oscar on fourth. He's been killing it lately. The dude's in his second year in F1. This is what you can look at sometimes and say why some guys are so successful and some aren't. Like Lando's a good driver, but you have to win almost from day one. You don't have to win championships right away, but like Kimi Antonelli, like if he gets a podium within the next couple of races, that's something that you gotta watch out for a champion versus just a guy who can win races, which is more like a Lando or a. And I don't mean these guys are bad. Daniel Ricciardo, Sergio Perez, Valtteri Bottas, like those type of guys who are really good, who can win races, definitely when it falls in their hand, but they can't bring 99% of the car out all the time. They have bad weekends. Not that the champions don't, but they just have far less. In their bad weekends, they seem to somehow fumble in the right direction and end up somewhere in the points. Um, Once again, not trying to bash any of those drivers. I'm just saying that's guys who come in and win right away, and guys who come in and have to work their way to win usually are less successful in becoming world champions. Usually, guys that drop in the car immediately and right away are on it. Like pretty much always qualifying top of the grid, always there about. His name's always mentioned, causing havoc. Like that's what they need to do at a young age. And you could say, oh, they're not the best team, but even like Charles Leclerc when he was at um, I forget what it was called back then, but Alfa Romeo now, or whatever the heck it is now. But either way, when he was there, he was still killing it. Their car was like pretty much last of the field, and he's pulling up to like P10. Like there are certain signs you can give at certain teams. You don't necessarily have to be at a top team, and maybe the cars don't fall in your favor and you don't get there. But long story short, Oscar Piastri will probably take another dub because he's got that gene of I'm gonna win this world championship, and Lando seems to just be laughing everything off, not taking it seriously enough, and he might realize too late that he's not taking this championship serious enough. So you got those two. Probably finish 1-2. Potential crashes? No, there's not really many places to crash in IMola because there's not too many great overtaking spots. So I think it's gonna be more of a parade. Monaco type style where it's going to be more of a procession. Maybe someone will spice it up with a two stop, but if they can't use the C6, then there's going to be no two stop because there's going to be no point to it. So anyway, you got two McLarens. Let's go Oscar Lando. P3, throw in Kimi Antonelli because he's Italian. It's his technical first home race, even though there's three home races. I hope the focus is on. It's his first home race as an Italian, and I don't know. I just think the kid's been great. I think he's keeps himself in the area, and he's just been bad on strategy, and his team's kind of not screwed him, but they've put him in bad positions, and he got unlucky last week bumping into Max in the pit lane. That was couldn't do anything about it at the end. Once it happened, you had to walk away from it. So he got stuck with some of that to ruin his race because he just stopped again and he got sent way back because he really should have been right behind George Russell. He ended up, I think, behind Verstappen. Yeah, I can't remember exactly, but yeah, um, I would go him number 3. 4, we're gonna go Max. I don't know why he's just gonna finish outside the points or outside the top 3 again. 5, we're gonna go George. He's been on fire this year. 6, Ferraris. They're gonna stay in the same spot. I don't know why they say they're bringing in an experiment. I have a feeling it's not gonna do anything because they're too afraid to do anything crazy. Um, yeah, I think Ferrari 6 and 7 again. Yeah, Max 4, 5 George, 6, 7 Ferrari, 8 Yuki, which should be good. Or nah, yeah, I'm gonna go Yuki. He should be able to do something around this track. Like I said, this is probably gonna be more of a pre-stage session, so wherever they qualify, I guarantee they're gonna finish close by. Um, so he definitely can't have a bad qualifying session. If he does, Helmet's gonna be looking at him like, bro, time's a ticking. I know they will probably not gonna kick him out for the year, but past that, if he doesn't start performing. But all you gotta do is get in Q3. That's all they care about. If you're in Q3, they're in the fight. Also, shout out Christian Horner might be gone by the end of the weekend if the upgrades they brought don't do something. Great, great team. I mean, Christian was never my favorite, but it's been there such a long time. You gotta think that it's becoming more and more Max Verstappen racing, which maybe he really will end up with Lance Stroll because Aston Martin will just be Lance Stroll racing with Max Verstappen, and he'll just literally do the same thing he does everywhere. It doesn't matter about his teammate. His teammate will qualify P20, he'll be P1. Anyway, um, Yuki. Then we get into the mids. Uh, Haja has been awesome. Signs and Alex have both been great. Never count Williams out. Apparently, honestly, a sleeper Williams podium might be a great pick. At the least in one of the next couple races. Either this, I believe Monaco's after this, and there's one more I can't remember, but in one of these tight quarters ones where you can't pass too much, Williams might pull a surprise podium at one point. And how sweet would that be for Carlos Sainz to get a podium in front of Ferrari when they're probably still fighting for like 6th and 7th? And he's like, I left you guys. I don't have to say it, but Ferrari or Williams might end up in the back though. I don't know. I have more trust in Ferrari bringing this upgrade, and Mercedes and Red Bull have kind of, well, at least Max Verstappen, has shown more promise than necessarily Williams. Williams had good races, but they always get caught fighting the tail front of the midfield, so it's kind of hard for them sometimes. Alpine, Pierre's been fired this year. I'm gonna go Pierre next. Jack Doohan's out. Jack Doohan's out. They apparently F1's not all teams are willing to kick their drivers after a few races. I it's not that I understand where they're coming from as a team, but the team's not that great. Like they drive around a shitbox, Alpine, whatever you want to call them, whatever they're Renault, then they're Alpine. Their car kind of sucks, you know. So Pierre getting the best out of it, and blaming Jack Doohan is like Red Bull kicking Liam out and blaming him for the car being bad. Then Yuki comes in and he's just as bad, and he's like the other car is actually easier. It's crazy, but it's F1. They're a team. There's only two drivers at the end of the day. If they want somebody else in there, they'll put him in there. Also, I worry about Colapinto. I liked him. I liked what he did. I thought he did great at the end of last year, but he did have that crash in Brazil in the wet. And once again, like look at 2016 Max Verstappen as a rookie in Brazil in the soaking wet, and he doesn't hit the wall by like 3 feet, right? And you're saying, oh, it's just luck, maybe, but certain people in life get lucky and certain people don't, and some people are just on that trajectory from a young age. And Max was on that trajectory that day in Brazil in the wet in his first wet race, where Colapinto he crashed out in the wet, and you kind of I always look at that and go, there's more to be desired. Maybe he can learn it. Maybe he can get better. Probably. But is that going to affect his confidence for the rest of his career? I think so. Because every time it rains from then on, and we all know rain are good opportunities that if your team is not great to get something good. Because a lot of accidents happen. All you got to do is survive, and you might get points. So I don't know. I think he's got to be there. I still, that being said, Colapinto is definitely making it into Q2. He'll be somewhere like 15. Let's keep going through these picks. Alex and Carlos finished right by each other, 8 and 9. Yeah, because Yuki was 7. No, Yuki was 8. Carlos 9. Alex 10th. 11th. That was probably a bad pick because they're not going to finish right behind each other. 11. Surprise. I'm going to go Gabriel Bortoleto. He kicks Alba's finally going to have, or whatever they're called nowadays. They're finally going to have a decent race. That's probably a stupid pick, but no, I shouldn't go with him with 11th. Cut that. All right. So number 11, we're gonna go. Who I can't remember. Oh, okay. 11, Berman, Behrman, Behrman. I'm gonna go with him. Ali, get that 10th, that 11th place, right outside the points again. Probably qualify in the back and work his way up because he's been carving it up back there. What else? Esteban Ocon. Yep, definitely in the 12th. Other Alpine, probably Jack Doohan somewhere up there. I think I might have forgot. Oh, yeah, no. Pierre's in there, so I'm at 15 now. Lance Stroll again. Fernando. Nico. It's going to be 18. 19. Colapinto, because he's been terrible. 20 Lawson, who's going to be dropped by the end of the year. Yep, that's the grid this time. I got it right this time. But yeah, that's who I think is gonna win. Probably gonna be off by a few picks, but who knows? Last time I got some decent ones right. It's kind of hard because qualifying and race will always be different. But like I said, expect a pretty standard race. There's probably not gonna be too much. Maybe the pit stops draw something interesting, but it's probably not gonna be the best. People, I think this is the last year on Imola's contract, and then they have to get it renewed. I wouldn't miss it if we're going to keep the cars big. If the cars are going to stay this size, we need bigger tracks. We need bigger tracks with runoff areas. We need things where people can overtake. We can't race on skating tracks anymore unless they want to lower the car size, which is perfectly. If they want to do that, that would work. But yeah, we need to go to bigger tracks. Sad thing is, they usually pick it based on money. That's why we're out Saudi. That's why we still go to Abu Dhabi, even though the track's meh at best. Um, Vegas even, but Vegas is run by F1, so it's a whole different thing. But anyway, off topic, it's just hopefully we pick up some tracks that are much more suited for these modern cars compared to some of the tracks that we have currently. That's where I kind of see an issue sometimes when I'm watching F1. It gets boring because some of the tracks, like even Japan, like couldn't do anything. Monaco, I like Monaco, but can we make it maybe something that's like a qualifying shootout for points? And we don't have to have a race, but we can have like a double qualifying session and like split the points between the two qualifying sessions or something. Or like, I don't know. Like, I would love to bring in some type of, you can still earn points, but we just don't need to race because there's literally no point to race. There's no reason for us to go around 70 times around Monaco. Like, the concentration, sure, you could say that the people, the drivers had to hold the concentration the whole time, sure, but like it's such a tight track. Where are they going to overtake? We've seen people try to overtake. It just ends up in a crash every time. You can't overtake a Monaco. It's impossible unless you're doing the pit lane. It's the only place you can overtake. So is there room for these on the calendar? Maybe we just do an extra weekend. Like, what's the harm of doing a weekend where you basically qualify and maybe you get like 10 points for qualifying first or something? I know that they bring in the sprints, and F1 already kind of hates that, and they didn't like it at first. But truthfully, the sprints do help out these weekends where there's not much going on. A sprint kind of would help out Monaco, but there's no overtaking. There's absolute zero overtaking. It doesn't matter if we were a sprint or not. 17 laps, 70 laps, 20, whatever it would be, 23 laps. There would be no overtaking still. So Monaco can't be solved, but they still want to keep it on the calendar because it's historic, which I agree with. But like I said, can we at least make it like a fun thing? Could it be something that like the drivers have a better time than just going around for 72 laps? You know, but they probably won't get rid of it. They'll probably keep running it. Anyway, that's Imola this weekend. Expect a boring race. Maybe it'll rain. It flooded. Didn't it flood last year in Imola? I think it flooded. But maybe it'll rain. That would be making it a little more interesting. Um, don't forget George Russell and Valtteri Bottas got into that nasty accident a few years ago, and now he's the reserve driver. It was totally George's fault, but he didn't give a crap, and he smacked him on the head. That's a hilarious clip if you watch it back. He calls him a dickhead on the radio. Oh my god, that made me laugh for so long. That was such a funny clip. It didn't rain last year. It was like 2 years ago, the flood, too. But anyway, enjoy the Grand Prix. Well, enjoy qualifying. The Grand Prix is going to be meh. And talk to you afterwards and see what's going on. All right. Bye bye.